This is Speaking of Pets podcast, where we offer you up-to-date, science-based, accurate information.
Oh, Gizmo! Good kitty. You're such a good kitty.
And they're looking up and howling in unison.
If it affects pets, we'll talk about it. The Speaking of Pets podcast is sponsored by Blue Buffalo Veterinary Diets. Love them like family, feed them like family. And Vetramax Veterinary Supply. Vetramax makes it better. Hey everyone, welcome to Speaking of Pets. I'm Dr. Alice Novotny-Jeroman, a board-certified veterinary dermatologist, and
I'm Janet Novotny-King. I am not a board-certified dermatologist and allergist. I'm the doctor's sister, and we're here to bring you some science-based information to help you be better pet owners and lovers. So welcome to the show. And Who do we have today, Al?
Hey. Well, as I told you earlier, I discovered this fabulous book, Dog Smart, Life-Changing Lessons in Canine Intelligence. And it's by Jennifer Holland. We are lucky enough to have Jennifer with us today. She is a New York Times best-selling author. This is, I believe, her 5th book. We will confirm that. I also have Unlikely Friendships from her. And Janet, that's at the Florida house in your guest room. And what I love about Jennifer is she's like you and me. She's an eternal learner. She is always doing something. She's scuba diving with tiger sharks. She's climbing trees in Costa Rica, camping out in New Guinea. I mean, aside from that, and then the normal stuff of like contributor to New York Times, Washington Post, NPR, all that at-home stuff. I love a learner. And I have to tell you, I'm supposed to know a lot about pets because I'm a veterinarian, but I learned so much. And I have to say, Jennifer, I also developed more, not that I didn't respect my dogs, but a greater respect for their intelligence. And I hope that we can convey that to our listeners today. We are not the smartest people. We are not the smartest species on this planet, as you pointed out in your book. So welcome, Jennifer Holland. So happy and honored to have you.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to be here. I appreciate it. Very nice introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Jennifer, how did you get into Dog Smart? Like, how did this happen?
It's a good question. I've always loved animals. I've always written, I did my series of other books. I am a science writer by training. And so when I thought about, what would be something that would kind of fill that love of animals that I have, but also give me an opportunity to dive into something a little bit more technical and robust. And I talked to an editor at National Geographic Books, and we talked about time for them to have a good dog book and time for me to write a good dog book. So that's sort of how it came to be. And they really gave me free rein to do it however I wanted. And I'm really excited about all the great stuff that's in there.
Well, and confess your sins. You're a dog lover.
I am. And I do love cats too. I do. But I have had as many as 3 dogs at a time. If I had more room, probably would have a couple more. But at the moment, just the 2. So.
Well, you have Monk and Getty, if I'm not.
Monk and Getty, yeah. So we have odd breeds. They're both.
They are
a little elderly. We've got Getty is a Korean Jindo that we rescued from a Jindo rescue group. And he had been a stray, and he's a quirky animal. He's got a few issues that we are constantly managing, but he's a great dog. And then our other dog is a Japanese Kai Ken, which is kind of a foxy little, except that he's black, but perky ears, a fluffy tail, sweet as can be, just an absolute love. And I would say super smart, I have to say.
So I think I have a very smart dog. I know I have a very smart dog. She's a golden. She's a rescue. And do you know, like when they're a puppy, can you tell if there's a smart one in the litter? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. My approach to Dog Smart is really, that there's intelligence in all kinds of things that they do, and it's not just do they learn quickly to respond to our commands, which certainly is a sign of smarts. And some of the, there's a lot of dogs out there that are incredible in their ability to learn words and do tricks and all of that. But my approach was what does it mean to be smart if you're a dog? And what is intelligence for? It's to allow you to thrive, to allow you to make decisions and, do the thing that you need to do as a species to thrive. And so that got me into, olfaction. The dog's olfactory intelligence is remarkable. Their social intelligence, the way they communicate is incredibly detailed and robust and interesting. And I don't think we always give them credit for just their adaptability as a species. And so that sort of is the underlying idea, I think, of all of their intelligence, is this ability to adapt to pretty much anything.
I love at the very opening of the book, and this really caught my attention, you were actually pretending to be a sightless person walking in New York City.
In New York City.
With a seeing eye dog. And please explain that, because that, I kind of got goosebumps for you when you were doing that, because these people put all their trust into that dog.
They do.
And what's interesting, Janet, is the dog has to make the decision despite the person wanting to keep going.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us about how that experience was. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to spend time at the Seeing Eye, which is a very old institution in New Jersey, and they, turn out many, many wonderful Seeing Eye dogs. And I got to observe how that training looks, and sort of dogs at different levels of training, and then go into the city where they were taking a whole batch of dogs that they were practicing with and testing, and walk around in the city. And they said, "Do you want to give it a try?" And I said, "Yes, of course I would like to give it a try. What's better for writing than actually doing?" So they let me hold on to that harness and do a couple of blocks in New York. It was very crowded. And you just have to let go and trust this animal to do the right thing. And I was absolutely floored at how fast this dog moved. How, there were no incidents. I didn't bump my shoulder into anything. I didn't run into pedestrians who had stopped suddenly. The dog just really, and this was a dog still in training, just did an incredible job, just kind of navigating me, through that environment. And it gave me a different level of respect. And this idea, as you said, of a dog having to choose sometimes to disobey if the dog has more information or better information. And that's called intelligent disobedience. And seeing eye dogs in particular have to be really, really good at making that decision, which was fascinating to me.
Janet, one of the things that, well, there's so many instances in the book, but when you talk about the intelligent disobedience, bomb sniffing dogs, here you want to keep walking and you're telling them keep going and they know better. So they're actually defying their owner or handler, whatever we want to call that, because they're more intelligent in that situation than that human.
Exactly. And saving lives.
I just can't say enough about dogs. I knew it before, but after this, tell us about when you put the bite suit on. That made me really nervous. Oh my God.
Me too.
Janet, the big suit where they attack you?
Yeah, I know.
Big suit. And it was a big suit. That was not built for a small person.
And then you felt like you had gone Weight Watchers.
Yeah, exactly. Shed that thing off. No, again, for me, it's like if I can actually experience the thing I'm writing about, I feel like the writing is going to be so much better. And so when offered the chance to be on the other side of a bite dog, a police dog in this case, literally two police guys showed up with their Belgian Malinois, and I got to put on the suit and be the bad guy and get attacked. This is actually the second time I've done this. I did it for some other project years ago where the dog knocked me to the ground, just instantly knocked me to the ground. This one just had a really good grip on my arm inside the suit, still ended up with some bruises. But it was amazing because the fact that they can take a dog who is a complete sweetheart at home, loves the kids in the household. They have full trust that this dog is not going to hurt anybody, and can be trained to flip this switch and know when it's time to do this thing that they do and when to let go as well. So, even if they're enjoying the game of the bite, which is, how they're trained, is everything is sort of a game, they have to be able to let go when told to. And so once again, it was just a really eye-opening experience to see the dog perform this, this combination of acts.
We actually have started teaching our golden names.
Mhm.
And she will, like the other day, Alice, or the other night, Anne stopped over and we said, "Where's Anne?" And she kind of looked and then went right to her. I mean, we've just been using names over and over and over, and she's actually kind of hungry to learn new
Mhm.
things. You know, you recognize that in your pet. And I haven't had a dog like this that just is like, "What's next? You know, what can you teach me?" It's
I
interesting.
love that.
You can't hear it right now, but there's backup beepers because of Amazon's delivering.
Oh.
She knows the difference between the backup beeper on the UPS truck, the
Yeah.
Amazon truck, and the FedEx truck.
But according to Jennifer's book, we can explain that because, and I wrote this down. They can hear up to 65,000 hertz, where we can only hear up to 20,000 hertz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So Mike always tells me when I'm coming home from my morning walk with Annie, he said, "You know, Gidget hears you when you're at the end of the street in the car." And I said, "Well, that's because Jennifer Holland says that I can hear
I
up
said
to
it. It must
65." And that's not only, I mean, look at all the sniffing of cancers. I mean, go through some of that. I just think that is, or remember, and we don't want to exclude cats because remember the story of the cat that lived in the nursing home
That's
that
right.
when it would go to the
yes.
person's room and then that night was, they'd pass away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
The angel of death,
fascinating to
that
me.
cat. I'm not sure it was good when the cat came in. You're sort of shooing him
Yeah,
away. Don't.
they're going, get out of here, get out of
But that sense of smell for dogs obviously is sort of their primary thing. It's remarkably intense compared to our noses. I mean, our noses work perfectly fine for what we need them to do. Dogs' noses work so beyond anything they honestly need anymore that it's just amazing. But they use detection dogs for an incredible number of things now. But as you said, they're sniffing out diseases like cancer. A dog can smell an epileptic seizure before it happens, sometimes well before any sort of medical team could pick up on what's coming.
And I thought that was interesting because in the book you commented that they're not trained for that. That place in Pennsylvania said that the dog we either know they're going to do it or not. I mean, that was
Mm.
interesting to me.
Yeah, some of them seem to be kind of prone to notice and to respond, and some of them don't. It doesn't mean you can't train the other one to do it, but I think they tend to lean toward the ones that seem already interested, already smelling something and knowing that there's something significant in that scent. But the dogs that find ancient remains, hundreds of years
Yeah.
old, buried, a leak, a gas leak underground, bed bugs. Um,
Yeah. My friend in Manhattan, she lived in an apartment and she said when they'd see the beagle coming in, the beagle's like the bed bug
yes.
dog, they'd follow and see which apartment the handler went
Oh,
to.
Don't run
Good to
next
know if they're like above you or next to you,
door.
right?
well, you know
Yeah.
what, Duke, you'll love this. One of our producers, he's a Guardians fan, and when we were at the Guardians game last year, but we were in the Blue Buffalo loge or whatever that is, and before I went in there, I ran across these gentlemen in a van with these dogs, which sounds very sketchy, I realize,
Was
but
it a white panel van?
it was.
Don't get in.
Which, but so you know me, I start talking. They sniff this. They're bomb sniffing dogs for the stadium before it
Good.
starts and after. And yeah, and one of the dog food companies actually provides them with, and they weren't Malinois or Shepherds. One was uh, a spaniel,
Oh,
English spaniel, and I can't. The other one I think was a shepherd mix. But they were just happy hanging out, and the guys that their handlers, they're hanging out waiting for the game to be over because
yeah.
they're there the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just amazes me. And this dog looked like a dog that lived next door, you know.
Yeah.
Well, one day I'm a big thrift shopper and I found this great like carry-on bag that was fabric. And Alice, it was in Florida and it was very vintage. And I'm going through the line and there's one of those dogs, a TSA, and it starts going for the bag. And I'm like,
No,
oh my
I
God,
never
like I
heard that
just bought
story.
this, somebody's running drugs in it and I don't know about it.
Yeah.
And so they pull me over at TSA and they do that swab thing. And they said that a lot of lawn fertilizers carry the same scent
Oh,
or characteristics of like
oh,
drugs.
wow.
Oh.
So I got off free. They didn't pat me down. I was like sweating
Little
bullets. Oh my God, I bought it at a thrift shop,
You
Well,
never know.
Jennifer, my classmate, Dr. Kim Stewart in Texas, has a search and rescue dog, Seamus. We had her on the show.
Yes.
And Janet, you didn't know this, but in Jennifer's book, Seamus can detect 15 milligrams of human tissue, a bone chip, a tooth, a blood smear, a hair strand, or a fingernail.
Yeah.
I just find that, I mean, under like 6 feet of
Under
dirt.
stuff. Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. And that's why they're, they
Wow.
use them for example, for going into someone's garage and looking for hard drives that are, buried in whatever containers in the back. They're finding really bad people with really bad stuff out there. But the dogs can just, they can ignore all the scent that isn't relevant, even though they're being bombarded by so much scent. Just
That's
kind of the way
true.
we
That's
see.
true.
It's just this constant, all this information, and they have to sort through that in the brain intelligence and decide what is actually relevant and respond to that.
As a veterinary dermatologist, I can tell you that the chronically affected allergic pet condition, also known as atopic dermatitis, is rarely ever cured, but it can be effectively managed. Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo from Vetramax is a top veterinarian prescribed treatment for skin problems resulting from chronic itch, pyoderma, and allergic dermatitis.
I like to use what my veterinarian tells me to use, which is Command Shampoo by Vetramax. It's super gentle on the skin and tough on that nasty unwanted bacteria. Libby smells great, she looks great, and she loves it.
Vetramax makes practicing veterinary medicine better by giving doctors high-performing, high-value, evidence-based products. Now, with Command Shampoo, you can bring that same quality into your regular home routine. Go to Chewy.com and enter promo code COMMAND15 to save 15% off on Vetramax Command Deep Cleansing Shampoo. That's code COMMAND15 at Chewy.com for 15% off. Vetramax makes it better. Hey everyone, don't forget to pick up Country Critter Journal if you live in Northeast Ohio. It's a must-read for all pet lovers. Their goal is similar to ours here at the podcast, to educate the community on taking care of pets. They're advocates for adopting from shelters, not puppy mills, and they connect our local communities with goods, services, kennels, and those seeking to adopt a pet. They're a hometown paper with a personal touch. A must-read for all pet lovers, Country Critter Journal.
Are you working on another book?
I haven't started one yet. I'm still kind of pondering what the next thing is, but I expect there will be something, because I do enjoy mostly the field work, the experience of getting out there, and people were so gracious for this project because they're dog people. So, of course you would expect that.
How long does it take you to write a book?
This book took from start to finish, and that includes like the publisher's part of it. It was a solid 3 years. So it was two years of field work and writing. And it was a lot of it was during the pandemic. So I had to really make a lot of adjustments to, some of the things that I wanted to do, but still remarkably able to get out and spend time with people and their dogs. People were really gracious about it.
So is your daily schedule like you get up and like 9 to 5 you write all day?
I actually have a day job right now too, writing communications for something completely different. So I basically would have one day a week that was really focused on the book, and then the weekends and evenings, and just, I had a friend a colleague who's really, really smart and was really excited about the project, and she helped me. We would kind of do the deep dive into some of the research and so she made it possible, I think, for me to finish it in that time frame.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It's so well researched because you took so much research and dumbed it down so that we could understand it. I mean, one of my favorite sayings is, seeing eye dog is led by the handler, but an Alzheimer's dog manages the handler.
Yeah, right. And I hadn't thought much about, an Alzheimer's dog is kind of a newish thing. I think they're still sort of figuring out how do you train a dog to deal with such an inconsistent situation, that can be dangerous, that can be, the person can turn on the dog and be not very nice. You just never know what you're going to get from that person. And to have a dog who's basically bomb-proof in that way, who can, figure out how to manage a situation like that, that's incredible to me that they can do that.
How are the dogs helping Alzheimer's patients? Are they calming them or alerting loved ones when something unusual is going on? What's
Yeah, I think the idea is all of the above. I think they're, and one of the people I talked to who's sort of getting into this said that they're still sort of testing out, starting early with people, like when, if somebody's diagnosed or knows that they're going to have some dementia, you
oh,
start early so that the person and the dog have this relationship that starts from the beginning, and the dog can kind of get to know the inconsistencies and the changes as they come. But it can be for comfort, it can be for alerting of a problem, it can be if a person wanders, a dog, helping get them home
oh,
or
yes.
notifying somebody that the person's missing, that kind of thing. And just the normal household, go get my slippers kinds of things, just any kind of assistance in the home as well.
That's amazing. My sister-in-law's brother has a condition where he has seizures,
Hmm.
and they have a large dog that when he starts to fall over, like protects him from falling, and it just fascinates me. And that dog is truly a part of the family,
Yeah,
and they live in Italy, so I think it's probably kind of unique over there, but it helped. He said he feels more confident
yeah, yeah.
going out in public because he's like, if I have a seizure, the dog knows what to do.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the
Well,
people I talked to said they got their lives back because they
Yeah.
had a situation like that where they didn't feel comfortable in public, and now they know that the dog will protect them in whatever way. If that means lie on top of them or nudge them to let them know, okay, it's time to leave this crowd because I can tell you're getting a little worked up. If for people with PTSD, that sort of thing, the dog can just
Mm.
really come to their rescue in so many different ways.
So what's the future of smart dogs? Like how could we use dogs in the future? I'm thinking AI.
Yeah, that's a great question. I really, I think, something like this Alzheimer's thing is, as I said, is kind of young. I think my sense is there's pretty much nothing a dog can't be trained to detect. And so, anything that we need them to find, they can be trained to find. And whether that ends up being more in the disease realm or using dogs to, for example, learn the scent of a disease and then taking what we can learn from them and then using that to design, some sort of piece of equipment that sort of does what the dog is doing. And they found with Parkinson's, I think, is one where they've, the dog certainly can smell Parkinson's in a sample. And then they're figuring out what is it the dog is actually smelling, and okay, what does that tell us? What does that scent mean? Can we detect that scent earlier in the person's, in the condition? And just kind of making use of what the dogs can teach us to improve our own technology.
that
Wow.
is, when we try as humans, we try to concoct all these tests that sometimes insurance doesn't cover
Right.
to,
Yeah.
detect early cancer, things like that. And, in your book, lung cancer in someone's breath, dogs can detect urine, bladder cancer. I know of one melanoma in the skin. There was that in England, remember the schnauzer? The woman would be washing dishes at the sink and the dog kept going to her calf muscle.
Mm.
She get out of here, get out of here. Well, she went to the doctor. No, there's nothing there. Well, they ended up biopsying it. It was a melanoma, but they
Right.
didn't get it all. And the dog kept sniffing there
Wow.
and they went back in. Jennifer, did you ever have the opportunity to meet Temple Grandin? I know she was mentioned in the
Not in
book.
person. Yeah,
Oh,
I've actually spoken with her, and she, one of my first book, she also, submitted a very nice comment about that book, and then this one
oh,
as well. So that was an honor. She does amazing work, and she's really done such great things for farm animals. I think for animals in general, just
yes.
a whole different perspective on how to think about them and how to treat them, and but realistically, knowing that farms aren't going away, but we can do
Mhm.
this differently. We don't have to do it in this very cool sort of way. So a lot of
Yeah. And
So are all of your books New York Times bestsellers?
the first two, I believe, maybe the third. So Unlikely Friendships was a big hit, and then I followed with Unlikely Loves, which is sort of the same concept, just more stories. And then I did a book called Unlikely Heroes, which was a little bit different. I actually love that one because the stories, there was really just a lot of really interesting heroic moments and different ways of, thinking about what heroism looks like in an animal. So I had a lot of fun with Unlikely Heroes, and those three all did very well. We did a compilation that was just dog stories from the first 2 books. So that wasn't really a whole new book. And that one was a little bit less just, I think at that point we'd sort of run the steam a little bit. So it's time to move on. So
being a New York Times bestselling author is quite an accomplishment. What was it like when you found, did they call you? Like, what happened?
So
Oh,
exciting.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm always curious. Is it like, the Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah, it was extremely exciting. I think my publisher was it was working in publishing, and I had an editor who I loved, and she's the one who sort of told me to keep watch, because it was, things were happening with it, and I was watching on Amazon, and you could see what number it was, and it was amazing to watch that. I had no concept that was going to happen. I had written that book in my spare time with the full-time job at National Geographic at the time. And just, it was a wonderful, awesome surprise to have that book resonate with people the way it did.
That's cool. That's really cool. Wow.
Did you ever have, in your Heroes book, which I haven't read yet, but I will, did you have the opportunity to interview any of the handlers of the 9/11 search dogs in New York City?
I didn't for that book. I have talked to people for other projects who worked with some of those dogs. And actually, unfortunately, that didn't make it into Dog Smart, because I did talk to some people who worked with those kinds of dogs. But yeah, they're not in Unlikely Heroes, but similar sorts of things.
Janet, there were some golden retrievers that worked 9/11.
But a lot of those are gone.
Yes. That's true. Yeah. Well, because
they passed away because of their age, right?
Yeah, right.
They were truly heroes. Yeah.
But I think one of the interesting things about that, and the fact that, as you said, golden retrievers were among them, and with the detection dogs, you sort of expect certain breeds to be the very best, and certainly there is some truth to that. But also it's a matter of opportunity, and if you give, apparently if you give a pug the opportunity to be a detection dog, sometimes they're going to beat out the shepherd because of just their attitude and their curiosity and their commitment to the job. And they've actually even compared those two in the study, just to show that it's not necessarily breed that defines how intelligent they're going to be at a particular task. And that was kind of a fun thing to learn.
Remember in the old crime movies, like of the 50s, and they turn the hounds on you, on the prisoner that's running away, and it was always bloodhounds.
That's right. Yeah. And they do have amazing noses. And there's things about bloodhounds that I think actually the whole ears flap, actually change how they get scent, and they're low.
That's true.
And, so they are very good. But other dogs can be right up there with doing.
But see, that to me is a paradox, because as a dermatologist, most hounds that I saw have pretty good yeast dermatitis, and it's a real oily, smelly, but apparently that doesn't bother them. They can just, negate all that out and go for the fingernail that's 6 feet under,
That's right. They're like, oh, that's just my scent. Yeah, ignore that one.
Right.
Well, that's what we learned from Seamus's handler, was that he was taught, if he found the body or remains or whatever, that he was taught to not rustle them or touch them, because it could be a crime scene. And I thought, my God, like my dog would be like, digging, but he knew just go down and wait. And that's just fascinating that they can be so well trained.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, Janet, that we never thought about was that Dr. Stewart told us with Seamus, she carries like 10 to 15 pounds in a backpack of a first aid kit, a lot of water, because they get so dehydrated, because sometimes Seamus is like a mile ahead of her in the search. It's just...
Well, and she had to prove that she could carry him in that backpack.
That's right. In case he was injured.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like facing out. But can you imagine like a heavy dog on your back, and then you've got to hike out 2 miles with an injured dog? I can't even imagine.
So, Jennifer, do you expect the same, activity out of your two? Because I don't expect mine to do anything. Janet, you're like telling how Libby's so good, but I wait on mine. I mean,
yeah, my dogs are pretty spoiled. I do not claim to be a very good trainer. In my own household, I break all of my own rules. I try in this book to get into, it's not a training guide by any means, but a little bit of just sort of how to read your dog's body language, and maybe, let them be dogs a little bit more, and let them access their sniffer tool, and get all their curiosity fulfilled. But I expect very little from my dogs.
There you go.
I bought those buttons where you try to get them to learn to press the button to go outside, and just zero interest, not interested in the least. They ended up in the closet after about a week of trying.
I get so many questions from pet parents about what is safe and effective to use when cleaning their pet's ears. Dermazoo's Glycozoo Odic is great to use as a maintenance cleaner to keep the ears smooth and healthy. Glycozoo Odic solution has boric acid, which is antibacterial and anti-yeast, glycolic acid, which keeps the skin smooth and supple, and ceramides for routine ear cleaning with a solution that's safe, effective, and repairs skin cells. Ask your veterinarian about Dermazoo's Glycozoo Odic. Let's keep those ears healthy and infection-free.
Blue Buffalo Natural Veterinary Diets offer a natural alternative in nutritional therapy. With their in-house research and development team with over 300 years experience in well, pet, and veterinary therapeutic diets, more than 600 scientific publications, and more than 50 U.S. patents. Blue Buffalo Natural Veterinary Diets.
I say in the book that it didn't have to be dogs. Probably there are so many mammals that are equally intelligent, and given sort of the right circumstances, might have been the animal that got domesticated in the way that dogs are. But all the things kind of came together for dogs, and they happen to be beautiful, cute, all the things, furry, soft, and good protectors, and they serve a lot of purposes for us as well. But rats are really, really intelligent, and
Yes,
it's not as
that's
not
true.
cute for most
And they
people.
make good pets too.
Make good pets. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
And they
And
use them in
also
labs,
chickens. Chickens have turned out to be really good pets too.
Right.
And who knew, but they get congestive heart failure because
Amazing.
most chickens don't live long enough when they're, but as pet chickens, it's a whole new dearth of disease that we never knew they had. But I'm also interested in how intelligent dolphins are.
Yeah, amazingly intelligent. Yeah, that's another one where if they could fit on a leash in our living room, they'd probably be right there. Just that was when I was a young person, that was of course my favorite animal, and I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I was gonna, be the dolphin whisperer, and I was just confident that I was gonna bond with every dolphin. And I did have one wonderful experience in Ireland diving for an article for National Geographic where there was a dolphin that had gotten very used to the fishermen and was sort of known to be friendly, extra friendly. And I got to dive in this area and have the dolphin around me, and the dolphin was trying to play. It would bring over a piece of seaweed and kind of like toss it at me and then swim away and swim back around. And if you, put your head toward the sand and kind of dug in the sand, the dolphin would tip and kind of mimic. It was unbelievable animal. Yeah, I'll just never forget that. Just being able to interact with them. Incredible. You're so incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I must say, all these faces are just so endearing.
I
and so
know.
sweet.
I know.
Whoever did your cover.
Did you have people submit? Are these friends of yours, Pat?
So I'll tell you. So my initial idea for the cover is I said I want to do the Brady Bunch, but with dogs. Which it dates me a little bit. So we found a photographer who already had done a lot of dog portraits and collected them and kind of went through and picked a good mix. But there's one dog on here that is an actual dog in the book. This dog right here is Odin, who is in the book.
Oh, that's Odin.
That's Odin. And
I'm honored that I get
to
to meet him.
To have one who was actually in the book. So I did manage to get Odin.
Oh, I
this
love
one
that.
looks like he's going to be up to something.
He does.
You know what I mean?
He does.
Like,
For sure.
He does.
right? He's like, so next I'm going to chew a hole in your favorite shoe.
Absolutely.
Like Alice always says, when you see the dog side eye, you
The
look
side
out.
eye. Love the side.
The side eye, the dreaded side eye. Do you still work for National Geo?
I still am a freelancer. I had an article last year on Borneo, on a national park in Borneo. That was the last piece I did for them.
With the orangutans?
I did get to see orangutans. It was
I love it.
Yeah, incredible. Just basically sat on the ground. Your neck gets sore looking up at them, and they just eat. All they do is eat, and they just move really slowly. And every once in a while, they kind of do the swing, the long arm swing.
Wow.
But they were very fun to watch and smart. They would lean on a thin branch to get from one tree to the other. So they'd sit here and lean over to the bed to the
Oh,
next
like a
tree
squirrel.
to
Yeah.
get in there. And they just had all their own funny little behaviors that were really fun to watch. So, yeah.
What's the place you'd go back to if you had a chance? Of
Oh,
all the places and stuff you've done,
so many. Oh my gosh. Well, it's tough. I
it's
guess
probably like children. You can't pick just
it
one,
really is. I mean, I've done a lot of diving. In Australia, I did diving in Indonesia. Um, those are, I'm always happy to go anywhere beautiful to go diving. But even just, this trip to Ireland was very fun and different because it wasn't, some of my trips I'm really camping, really camping, and it's uncomfortable and it's buggy
Yeah.
and it's, and it was kind of nice to go somewhere where it was a little bit more comfortable. And, I had a spare week, so I rented a car and drove around, the coast
Oh, fun.
and just had kind of a more of a vacation kind of experience there. So that was lovely. But yeah, it's a tough call because there's so many beautiful, incredible places that I've gotten to go that I would never have probably gotten to see. And some I haven't yet that I'm hoping to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Never been to Japan.
Did you major? What was your major in college? Did you major in journalism, or
I
what got you?
I majored in English, and then I did a master's in conservation biology. And so
Oh,
I
cool.
kind of wanted to
Interesting.
bring together all of these passions,
Yeah.
and that was a nice way to do it.
So, did you go on adventures with your parents and your family?
Not really. We didn't do not a whole lot of that. We go to the
We
beach.
didn't either.
Yeah, as a kid, I think I fantasized about doing out there kinds of stuff, but it didn't really start until I was a little older and could make my own adventures.
Oh, that's cool. So, what do you find is the most rewarding thing about your work?
I would say in part it's the people who do the work that I write about.
Yeah.
Are just amazing. It's amazing to see all the different ways people live their lives and, the incredible stuff people are doing for the earth, for animals, for other people. And just getting to meet all those people and have all those experiences that, kind of move you along in your life. And then, of course, seeing animals close up and personal stuff that you might not see otherwise if you're just a tourist has been, probably the most fun, most exciting part of it is just actually, hey, there's a macaque right there, and I'm sitting there and I get to watch them do what they normally naturally do in the wild, or chasing interesting birds or, scuba diving, all of it. It's been really wonderful. Yeah.
Wow. So this is the question we ask all of our guests. What is your pet or human peeve?
Oh, gosh.
Let me get started today. Actually, yesterday was one of those days.
Oh, yeah. Boy, there's a lot of those too. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I guess just an attitude. People who have,
Yes.
expect just that they should have more than they do and that, act badly around other people as a result of that expectation.
Yeah, people that think they're hot stuff.
Yeah.
Right, Janet?
And they're entitled.
Yeah.
They're entitled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like their what doesn't stink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a
But
big
I
fan.
have to tell you, in my profession, I've run into that because you'll go to like a function. I love going to places where I don't know anyone. And like you said, Jennifer, it's fun to find out what people do and, how they came about to do that. And so, I remember this one function, someone was being like real snotty. And so then they said to me, well, what do you do? I said, well, I work with animals. Oh, at the zoo? I said, no, I'm a veterinarian. And I couldn't lose them after that. And I thought, no, you were being creepy. And so this is what you get. No free veterinary advice. But of course I did, because it's all about the animal. But I love it when they think they're hot stuff and then they find out what you do and they're like, oh, not too late.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's how doctors are in general. Like they don't want to say, I'm a dermatologist. Can you look at this?
Yeah. Well,
Janet,
Mother used to do that. She'd say, what do you think this is? And I'm like, I don't know. And this is her comment. You look at dogs' rears all day and you won't even look at my skin. I said, that's right.
Right. It's different when it's a dog. It's just is. It's different when it's
A dog's butt is fabulous to look at as opposed to human skin. And let me tell you this, every time I'm at the doctor or I'm at the doctor with my husband and I see the parade of patients walking in, I look at my husband and say, I am so glad I went into veterinary medicine because I get the cutest of the cute.
You do.
Jennifer, this has been so informative,
I
and you are
can't
just
wait till
lovely.
you write your
and
next book. I'm telling you,
I know.
I have like 5 favorite books, and this is now on that 5 favorite book list.
Oh, that's so nice.
Well, you know what? Because when you
telling
read
me that when she was reading it.
Yeah, when you call me, you know what? When you read a good book, you want to share it with people that you know will love it. And that's why, Janet, I bought 3. I can't remember who I sent Barbara Myrish in New Jersey, Penny, our sister, who's a dog lover and rescuer. And I'm trying to think who the third one was. But it's, to me, to share a good book, it's the best gift you give to someone, really.
Well, and I love that your concept was, because I kind of see the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, now that you see it, you can't unsee it.
It's like when you're on Zoom.
If we start singing it, then just hang up. Jennifer, your next book, we want you on. Because I don't know that you can outdo this one, though. I really don't.
I know, it's going to be tough. And the fun of this one, it was a great time to work on it. So
we're so glad you were on the
so
show.
Much.
Thank you.
I can't, I got to think of Christmas presents now.
Great gift.
Well, we're going to wrap it up.
Jennifer, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And the book, again, Dog Smart, Life-Changing Lessons in Canine Intelligence, we will have it at the end. So this is Alice Novotny Jeroman, veterinary dermatologist from Cleveland, Ohio, and
Janet Novotny King from Cleveland, Ohio. We're the Novotny sisters. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget to follow, like, share, review, love us. We love those thumbs up. Thank you for being here today.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you learned some valuable information about making decisions about your pet's health.
And don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe on podcasts, because we love to have those likes. Thanks so much for listening.
That's actually really good. You could both go bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, yeah.
How about woof woof?
This episode of Speaking of Pets podcast was sponsored by Blue Buffalo Veterinary Diets. Love them like family, feed them like family. And Vetramax Veterinary Supply. Vetramax makes it better.
Follow us on social at Speaking of Pets and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The Speaking of Pets podcast is an SLA video production.